We did not start this campaign. I did not put in tens of millions of dollars to be a spoiler candidate. I put in tens of millions of dollars to win, to fix this country, to do the right thing. I will say that Clear Choice, this PAC, this DNC-aligned PAC that was created specifically to take us out, has spent millions of dollars to take us out. They have unfortunately turned us into a spoiler. And we don't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us.
RFK Jr.'s campaign has faced relentless challenges from within the Democratic Party, which has gone to extraordinary lengths to keep him off the ballot. From legal battles to shadow banning, the party's resistance has made it increasingly difficult for RFK Jr. to gain a foothold in the race.
All right, this week, a judge in New York ruled that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. cannot appear on ballots in the state for the general election in November. Now, the judge said RFK Jr. was disqualified over his residence. Now, since the beginning of his candidacy, the Democrats have not taken kindly to Kennedy's efforts. Now, aside from New York, they also sued to keep him off the ballot in North Carolina, an effort he eventually defeated, but it took a lot of time, effort, and money. RFK Jr. now says he is officially on the ballot in 270 electoral votes worth of states, which means he would be able to be elected president, though the Democratic Party is attempting to throw him off the ballot in both Pennsylvania, Delaware, and more legal challenges to his candidacy are expected. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. joins us tonight with more. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Sean. Thanks for having me.
You know, look, polls have been all over the place in terms of your impact on this race. By my math, I have you at about 207 electoral vote states, with a lot of states pending because most states have not certified who's going to be on the ballot yet.
The Democratic Party has also altered its own rules to ensure President Biden faces no real competition, effectively rigging the primary process. RFK Jr. has found himself blocked by traditional Democratic media outlets, pushing him to rely on alternative platforms to communicate with the public.
They changed 60 different rules to make it impossible for anybody to challenge Joe Biden. One of the things that you remember that they did to me is I've been campaigning in New Hampshire, so they adopted a rule that said that any political candidate, any Democratic candidate who campaigns in New Hampshire, who steps foot into the state of New Hampshire, that all of their votes would go to the president, all of their delegates would go to the president, instead of going to that. And then they shut down the Florida primary. They shut down a bunch of primaries and just said, we're not running them. We already have our candidate. You know, a few weeks ago, President Biden was ridiculing Vladimir Putin, who won 88% of the vote in Russia. And he said, you know, that was a fixed election, because President Putin had made sure no adversaries could challenge him, and also that he had fixed the press so the press wouldn't cover his adversaries. Well, the Democratic Party succeeded in doing the same thing. I haven't been allowed on any of the Democratic networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, as you know, Fox has allowed me on, although Fox, people like you have allowed me to speak. You debate me. You give me a platform, even though you don't agree with things that I say, and I think that's the way the media is supposed to work.
The frustration with the Democratic Party extends beyond the technicalities of the campaign. RFK Jr., who comes from one of the most iconic Democratic families in America, reflects on how far the party has strayed from its original values.
You're from the most famous family of Democrats this country's ever seen, and you said before that it was painful for you to leave the party that has so much of family history in it. In an interview for Forbes in September, you were still a Democrat. So can you talk about, as an independent now, how you're carving out a different path that's different from Republicans and different from Democrats?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this morning, but the I grew up in a Democratic Party that was very clear about its values. It was rooted in the American middle class and the promise of America that if you worked hard, if you played by the rules, you can buy a home, you can take a summer vacation, you can raise a family, you could put something aside for your retirement on a single job.
As the campaign has progressed, RFK Jr and his team have had to weigh difficult decisions about their future. The stakes are incredibly high, and the risks of continuing to fight within a system that seems rigged against them have become increasingly apparent. Nicole Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s running mate, reflects on whether they should stay in the race or make a surprising move that could change the political landscape entirely.
The question is the risk of a Harris-Walz presidency worth us staying in? And that's the question we have to ask ourselves right now is, do we trust Trump and in his personal sincerity to really do the right thing for our country and chronic disease, balance the budget, end these forever wars? Is he somebody that's going to continue to invite people like Bobby and I into the conversation? Or is he going to fall victim again to the things he fell victim to in his first administration? So we're weighting it all. It's not an easy calculation. We want what's best for this country first and foremost, and it is, it's an interesting place to be.